Welcome to Financial Focus, brought to you by Gulf Coast Financial Services founder and CEO, John Kuykendall. John and his team of financial, legal, and tax professionals have provided North Florida savers and investors sound, comprehensive financial guidance for over 25 years, helping you to achieve important life and planning goals. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more Financial Focus by visiting GulfCoastFinancial.net.
And welcome into the program. This is Financial Focus, brought to you by the team at Gulf Coast Financial Services, named Best of the Best in Financial Services by the Lake City Reporter, 6 years running now, serving savers and investors in North Central Florida. And of course, founder, CEO, John Kuykendall here with us as our guide, keeping us focused on our finances. John, welcome back in.
Thank you, Peter. I'm glad to be here this week, and I think we've got a really good show this week.
Well, I think it's on a number of topics that are of concern, and really to have financial confidence, we need to have control over these things. So debt, credit, budgeting, the spending plan, and income. And John, it's kind of a two-sided equation there, really. People seem to feel like they have good control over their money at times. And then at times we can be in a whirlwind and feel like we're controlled by it. And often the difference lies in these issues.
Oh, yeah, Peter. And that's one thing that with the free financial focus plan that we talk about on this show all the time, the evaluation, we go into all of those things. We go into the debt, the credit, what debt do we need to pay off first, budgeting, income, how are we going to take our income, and creating a spending plan, because without a spending plan, you don't have a roadmap, you don't know where you're going, and you're just going to overspend or not spend enough and end up with a large legacy. So we want to make sure that everybody's got that plan in place. And I just want to reiterate tonight that, or today, that you need to get that plan. It's one that we put together for you. We're really excited about the software we have to do that.
Well, I think that's an important factor and really differentiates what you do there at Gulf Coast Financial Services, John, because a lot of people can have an investment account. They can be contributing dollars to their 401k or their IRA or their mutual funds. And a lot of advisors probably would be happy to take those accounts on and help manage them. But we could still feel out of control with our finances if we have not addressed how that piece fits into a true plan, which takes all of these other factors into account. And that's something that you don't overlook there at Gulf Coast Financial Services. And with that financial focus plan, it's not just about investment management and what's your rate of return when you put this dollar away. You're really looking at how does that dollar fit into the overall confidence that is being built as part of the plan.
Yeah, and we're going to look at Social Security, Medicare. We're going to make sure you've got the best Medicare drug plan, the best Medicare plan for your situation, that you're getting the most out of your Social Security before you file. I mean, it's a whole plan that we take a look at. Your taxes, we want to make sure you understand what tax bracket you're in and how your taxes are going to play out. And then we want to talk about, what you want to do during retirement. What are your plans? What are your goals? And then we're going to figure out a way that we can help you get there.
Well, again, if you would like that financial focus plan, all you got to do is click the link around the video or give a call, 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018, or you can also always go directly to GulfCoastFinancial.net, GulfCoastFinancial.net. Get in touch with the team there. They are your resource, ladies and gentlemen, looking to help you out and assist in your planning efforts any way they can, answer a few direct questions, or get that financial focus plan, a comprehensive look at your holistic situation, 386-755-9018. And really, John, all this, it boils down to having that paycheck is generally reliable, but it's the foundation for all further financial progress and success that we can make. And at a certain point in time, we want to give up that paycheck. We want to stop trading our time for money and make a big transition there.
Right. And that's what the spending plan does. It takes the place of that paycheck and makes sure that we have a continual income coming in. The last thing we want to do is have all of our market and all of our money in the market, or all of our money where it's concentrated. One of the things I always say is when people start talking about a particular thing, it was in 2000, it was tech. In 2008, it was real estate. Now it's stocks. I got to get into stocks. I've got to get more money. That's not the way to make this plan work. We want to make sure you're diversified, and at the same time, try to give you a decent return. But the main thing is to make sure you're diversified and you have that savings plan set up.
Once word starts to spread and people get excited, it's kind of too late to get to that party, I think is what you're saying sometimes.
Well, yeah. And I'm hearing, now I'm hearing that my neighbors made a bunch of money in stocks and I need to buy stocks. And, that's not the time to get into the stock market. The time to get into the stock market was when you weren't hearing that. And it was a true kind of stable market. And when you start hearing a lot of hype about a particular item, then before long it crashes and it goes down. We have the adjustment or the correction, as we call it.
Right.
So the spending plan helps us get that and gives us that peace at night. We want to make sure we know what your sleep number is, because if we have your sleep number tuned into your spending plan, then you're going to be able to sleep at night.
Yeah. Well, again, we trade our time for money, and that's what the paycheck is all about. And with making that trade, you would think that money is actually the more important thing, but it's not. It's the time that is important to us. We want to trade as little of our time as is necessary for a maximum profit and income to be able to save enough to where we no longer have to make that trade. But then, John, if we go about it haphazardly without that spending plan in place, we really don't know how much we can rely on from that savings. So the spending plan is like the missing link. It's the bridge between the need that we have for income and the assets that we have.
And we make sure that spending plan lasts over our retirement time, because that really is our paycheck. The spending plan is the paycheck we're going to pay ourselves during retirement, and we have to make sure that it'll last.
John,
last thing you want to do is go back to work at Walmart or at Publix bagging groceries at 80.
Yeah, well, at least not by necessity. If you do it by choice, just to be active, do something, have some activity. I personally would choose Home Depot. I like the tools, so that's kind of my dream retirement job. But look, that spending plan is so important. Another part of that, John, is managing other aspects of our financial life. And I know right now there are some voices out there that say we want to have a 0 credit score and no credit available. And that's kind of the goal, and, have every debt paid off. But in this world, I think that there is room for having some credit and a lot of times some necessity in real life to have credit available. I think even those that say you shouldn't, if they wanted to, if they desired, credit would certainly be extended to them. But for most of us, it's part of our financial progress and process, especially when you look at like major purchases, buying a house or something like that. It kind of requires credit.
Well, that's right, Peter. And, I've said before on this show about the individual that paid off their house and had some credit card bills due to inheriting some kids, taking over the responsibility for some kids. And then we went to the bank to get the house, refinance the house, because the credit cards were 28% now because they paid off the house. All they had was credit card debt. And so we couldn't get the house refinanced, even though it was worth a lot of money. And it was free and clear because they had the credit card debt and they were charged a higher interest rate. Even though they were making the payments on time, nobody would touch them. So, the people that say, I don't want to have any credit, are the ones who've got plenty of money. But sometime during your retirement, you're going to need to borrow a little bit of money, because either the market's going to be down and we can't pull our money out of the market, it's going to crash the plan, or I just need to spread those payments out for taxes. I mean, suppose I had a $50,000 roof I needed to put on my house, which that's not far off these days. It's going to be there very soon. And if I took that money out of my IRA, it was going to throw me in another tax bracket. And all of my income was going to be taxed at a higher bracket. You wouldn't want to do that. It would behoove you to borrow the money. So you have to have some credit and be able to obtain credit during retirement. It's just a natural thing in our society.
So using your credit and having debt, that's something that we actually don't want, but having credit available
Mhm.
in case we need it is something that we should have appropriately. And debt, of course, part of the credit equation. That is really a factor in all of this as well. John, it used to be the goal for everybody to go into retirement absolutely debt free, even pay off the house. Maybe not as essential as it once was since interest rates are so low, or what do you think about that? What's your opinion on it?
Well, I often said a long time ago that when, people will say, well, my dad told me to always pay off my house. And Peter, I think back to 1970, 1964 or 5, when I bought my first house and paid $15,000 for it. You're not buying a $15,000 house today. We're a median house in our area is 220,000, and that's not elaborate. So that's a lot of money for me to pay cash for or to pay off and not have that money working for me.
Most of us are going to need to take on some debt in order to even afford a basic home.
Use somebody else's money and then arbitrage it and make more money on it. That's the way to go.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of two-sided, though, because while the low interest rates have helped borrowers and maybe getting that foothold and making progress for savers, a large part of our progress is by issuing debt. In other words, we lend our money to the bank when we make a deposit. They're not paying us much interest on that loan. We lend the money to organizations or institutions or government municipalities when we buy bonds. They're not paying us anything. So has this made it more difficult that on the side of building wealth, part of that process was actually loaning our money out for some return, and we really aren't getting return these days?
Well, I mean, there was a point in time when we could loan our money to the bank, give them a deposit, and they would pay us 6 or 7%.
I remember when my mom, she wanted, her goal was to have the check hit for each bill the day before it was due, because the longer that money stayed in her checking account, she was earning, 10, 12% on her checking account. And, it doesn't matter much today.
Well, and then I remember back in 2000, we had an annuity that actually paid 10%, and nobody wanted it because in 2000 they wanted to be in the market. But those days are over. Now, when we're looking at a quarter or 0.5% or 0.1% of our money in a checking account, you can't afford to let that lazy money lie there. What you have to do is open a brokerage account, put the money to work, get it invested, do some things that you can to make more money with it. You can't loan the bank your money at a low interest rate and expect to survive, because I talked to a client the other day that had $400,000 in the bank and he was getting 2%. Well, it's going to take him 36 years for his money to double.
Yeah.
Based on that 2%. Yeah.
These low interest rates have made it harder to generate a reasonable income and have actually pushed people to take more and more risk with their money that they may not have otherwise chosen to take risk with. Another factor with debt, John, the national debt, not us personally, but as a country. How concerning is this? And do we think that because there's so much debt that interest rates may stay low, but inflation may become a factor?
Well, I think inflation is going to be a factor, but I also think that rates aren't going to stay low. I mean, as much debt as we have to raise taxes. And you're already seeing that in the new administration coming up with some different ways to tax and closing some things that we're used to. Like we just got the inherited IRA for children. That loophole's been closed, where now they have to take it out in 10 years. There are going to be a lot of other changes that are going to take place in the taxes. So we're going to pay higher taxes. We have to. I just think that, with a government debt, it's getting out of hand. And one day the music's going to stop and there's going to be no more chairs. And when all these foreign countries aren't able to invest in our securities, then we're going to have a problem. So we need to get the debt under hand. But it is a scary part. But taxes are going up. They have to.
Well, so we've talked before. Last week, I think we talked about taxation and the difference
Yeah.
between filing and preparing taxes and tax planning. In making that comment, I think maybe we deserve to or should revisit that conversation. There's 3 buckets of money, one where we're taking on debt to the IRS, and that's where we've been taught to save the majority of our money. And maybe because they have their own debt to handle, we should rethink how we're handling ours.
Well, that's true. We talk about the tax deferred being the tax trap, because what we're doing is we're getting a credit for a small amount of money, and then later we're going to pay taxes on a larger amount of money because we're paying taxes on the seed and the growth, so the harvest. So, we talked about taxable, which we pay the taxes as we go, and then tax-free, and we want as much tax-free, Peter, as we can get. And so that's one thing I'm glad that a lot of the companies have come out with a Roth 401 so that people can put money in a Roth instead of putting money in the tax deferred. Also, we're looking at more Roth conversions every day, and we're also looking at more life insurance as ways to get tax-free income.
And speaking of the income, there's kind of 3 different classifications of income itself. And most of us, John, have earned income where we go out and, again, circling back to the beginning of this conversation, we trade our time for money. That income is actually the least tax advantage. That's the highest taxed income that we can have. And then we try to save and build up money in retirement accounts so we can pay ourselves. That's a little bit better. But like the ultra wealthy, they don't try to amass as much as they can inside of an account. They make their money make money. That's passive income. And that's the most tax advantage. It's funny how that works out.
Yeah, it's amazing how that works out. And, we have active money, as you talked about, and passive. And then we've got the investment. Everybody understands the investment money, but the passive money is the things that we're investing in, rental property, other things that brings us income without having to work for it. I mean, the money's working for us, not us working for the money. And that's the difference between active and passive, I think.
Well, John, I know that credit, debt, income, budgeting, having that spending plan, these are not the things that are talked about when we look at the summary on our 401k statement or our retirement account. Oftentimes, when we go to a planner or a broker, they're not going to talk to us about these issues. They're going to say, how much do you have to invest and what kind of rate of return can we make? What's your risk tolerance? But these are factors that you take into consideration, that you plan for carefully with your clients. And again, I think that's the distinction. I think that's the difference. I think that's why Gulf Coast Financial has been named best of the best in financial services for the 6 years running.
Well, I think, Peter, that with the software we have now and the packages that we have, we can put together a financial focus plan that will truly focus on your financial situation, give you the best tax advice, give you the best retirement advice, and show you how we can move your investments around, do some things to tweak it, and also give you an income that we can be predictable for life. And, I'm amazed when we meet with people and, I wish I'd have had somebody giving me this advice years ago, but, we met with a client the other day and we said, look, why don't you defer your Social Security for a couple of years and you can take part of your wife's. He said, well, I didn't know I could take my wife's. I said, you're not taking it. You're just going to get credit for it. They're going to pay you and we'll let yours defer. It's a simple strategy, but nobody thinks about it. And if you go to the Social Security office, they're not going to tell you about it.
I was about to say, yeah, there's the education just isn't there about that.
No. And, the thing is that it wasn't there. And now it is. Used to, you go into a financial office, they prepare this big, thick book. It would have 300 pages in it. It would be colored graphs and charts. We don't need that. What we have is a computer package that we can send you a PDF online. You can tweak it. We can tweak it. You can send me back and tell me this isn't right now. That's changed. And we can redo the plan anytime you want to. Those are the things that are available now. The education part, which we didn't have the education. And I got to tell you, Peter, that, I've been doing this for 29 years now and in banking for 20 before that. Things have changed so much in the last 5-6 years with our technology and with our software programs. It's amazing the things that are available to us now.
Well, again, if you would like to get that financial focus plan, this is simple, easy to understand language on how to make your goals, your future financial reality, a snapshot of where you are currently, discussing those goals, writing them down so you have them documented and can make sure you're making that progress. And then John and his team will make recommendations on how you can achieve them, a timeline of step-by-step action items that you can execute with the team in order to turn those goals into your reality and make that financial progress that you need in order to achieve them. Pick up the phone, give a call, click on the link around the video if you're watching us on the podcast, or go directly to gulfcoastfinancial.net, gulfcoastfinancial.net, or the number 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018. John and his team, they don't charge for putting that plan together for you. So at the very least, you can get a plan that you can understand in your hands, and then you can talk about how to put it into action with the team. Again, 386-755-9018, no cost, no obligation, truly no downside for placing the call. No need to meet in person. Throughout this whole COVID experience, John, we've all become very, very familiar and comfortable with technology and meeting that way.
Yeah, we just met the other day with a client referral, and the spouse was in one place and the husband was somewhere else. So all three of us got on the computers and we hashed it out. Peter, I also want to say, we have our new book, The Financial Focus, book that we've just published. And I'd be happy if somebody wanted a copy out there to just shoot us a line and tell me that you'd like a copy of the book, and we'll send it to you.
Fantastic. If you'd like a copy of that book, Financial Focus, pick up the phone now, click on the link, get in touch with the team, get in touch with John Kuykendall there at Gulf Coast Financial Services. Request your copy of Financial Focus, a great resource for you, really outlining the process, the thought process behind the planning there at Gulf Coast Financial Services, their philosophies, and then what John, through his decades of experience in financial services, has seen as important for savers and investors to make the progress that you are desiring. 386-755-9018 to request the Financial Focus Plan or the Financial Focus book. Your choice, or you could probably get both. 386-755-9018. John, always a pleasure. We appreciate your guidance for North Central Florida savers and investors and savers and investors with the podcast throughout the world.
Thank you, Peter. It's great to be here.
Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more Financial Focus by visiting gulfcoastfinancial.net. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only, without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for a particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature and not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs. Early withdrawals may subject the owner to penalties, fees, or taxes. John Kuykendall is registered with and securities are offered through Kovac Securities Inc., member FINRA SIPC, found online at www.kovacsecurities.com. Advisory services are offered through Gulf Coast Financial Services Inc., a registered investment advisor in Florida. Gulf Coast Financial Services Inc. is not affiliated with Kovac Securities Inc. or Kovac Advisors Inc. Past performance is not indicative of future results. All investing involves risk. Investment decisions should be based on your own goals, time horizon, and tolerance for risk. Due to various factors including changing market conditions and/or applicable laws, the content may no longer be reflective of current opinions or positions.